Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back in Kalangala at Pearl Resort, and we have been talking about a couple of interesting things just before we went on air. Fortunately, we cannot share them with you. But what we can share with you is we are going to be talking about female bosses. Now, my name is Peter Igaga, and with me we have the men. Now, we have heard a lot about the differences between female bosses and male bosses. Do you have a female boss? Is it different to be managed by a lady? The good thing is, some of us here do have female bosses. I will not say who, but they know themselves. So gentlemen, good to have you here. We were going to talk about the elephant in the room, but it is obvious. Chief, you've got a female boss. Okay.
Wow. Wait, we are not talking about my female boss.
No, we are not talking about
by
your
the
female
way,
boss.
We're talking about, no, listen.
We don't want you to get
We are
fired
talking
after this show.
about female bosses. We're not talking, this is not personal.
Yes.
Yeah, this is support.
Yes.
So what do you want me to say about female bosses?
Claim your opinion.
They are kawa. They are kawa people.
I'm sure you'd say that. But my question is, some people say that it is, especially for a man, it is easier to be managed by a fellow man than by a woman.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
Why do you think so?
I think so because women, should I say intrinsically, think or feel like as men we look down on them. So they have to be hard, or they have to have a manly posture, they have to just be different. So, and that's why, you know, we assume that they are mean and whatnot, but you know, they're just trying, they live in a patriarchal system, so they have to step up. Yeah.
All right, Banji, is it fair to say that women have to work harder than men to ascend to the top?
If you just did a survey in Uganda of the companies which are in Uganda and see how many that are headed by women, you get problems. One time I had a man comment about the former executive director of KCCA and was like, Jennifer Musisi was putting flowers in Kampala as if it was her compound. And I felt that was unfair, you know. It was, in my opinion, it was unfair. But for him, his argument was like she was managing KCCA the way she would manage her home. And I found that gross. I am just using this because Musisi has been, in my opinion, one of the most successful managers of Kampala. I have been in Kampala for about 20 years, and I have seen mayors and come and go. So that shows you how hard a woman has to work, because in the minds of some men, women, some minds of men don't accept women in leadership. Okay, they don't accept women in leadership, and because also the women subconsciously know this, when they become leaders, they have to try extra hard. They have to put in extra effort. And sometimes it's because of this extra effort that then you find them probably stepping on toes the wrong way. But the idea behind their push is a good one. Maybe it is the method of pushing that now becomes bad. So yeah, I think the women find themselves in a difficult position when they are bosses, that they have to work harder, they have to step out of the traditional role into the role of leadership. And also you must understand that leadership is learned. There has been this debate whether we are born leaders or we learn it. You could be born, but the leadership is more of an art, because you are dealing with people. It's a skill. It's about doing.
You sharpen and improve.
You improve it with time. So sometimes, and sometimes as the guys, the junior associates, sometimes we also have problems, because when your boss is a woman and she rubs you the wrong way, you fear to go to her and say, if I go to her, she will think because she's a woman. No, No, go to her. She's your boss.
Albert, do women have to work harder than men to ascend to the top? Because of, like, for example, especially the business world is a man's world. So for a woman to get there, does she really have to put in that much more effort?
I think it's a mentality we have developed as a society, not as either male or female species, but it is a mentality the entire society has. Now, the problem comes in that if everyone has the same mentality of the status quo, that means everyone has almost the same mentality of how you can penetrate the glass ceiling. You see, if you know a man, all you have to do is, first of all, be a man. Second of all, you have to show the qualities of being a good leader, of being a great person. But for a woman, first of all, you're disadvantaged because you're not a man. Second of all, you're probably not considered to be as much of that's the mentality. And yet we forget the people that run homes are women, the people that raise great leaders are women, the people that bear great leaders are women, the people that actually do almost 90%, that actually make or nurture or it's a woman that does that. If you walk into the office and you're all tanned and shaped and trimmed and everything, people be like, oh, what a great man. They do not know that the woman probably picked out your trousers, picked up your shirt, ironed your everything. She did all that. Now, if a woman can do that to a man, what would she do to a nation? What should she do to a company? What would she do in all that? You see, that's just mentality. We have a poor mentality towards the glass ceiling. We have that poor mentality generally. And that's what that's what puts the women to the corner of this, and then to be disadvantaged. And then when they get into position, because they have toiled their way through the glassing and now they are in position, that's when you see them trying to force respect. They forget that respect is earned, because if someone toils, if I toil to make my money, you're not going to just eat it anyhow. You see, that's the problem. Even in a man, if I told to make my money, you're not going to just come and start saying, I need to pay my bills. I mean, you don't just talk like that. I give you the privilege of spending it. So if a woman toils to get through the glass ceiling and get to the top to the topmost position of leadership, she is probably going to have the same mentality of, hey, I got here through toiling, and all these men were looking down at me, and looking down on you, and all down at me, whatever English, you know. And she is going to factor in the fact that I'm not really accepted in this position. So I need to earn this I need to continue fighting for this position. And yet she is in that position.
Okay, let me say some perceptions. And since we live in a patriarchal system, you know, men have always looked down on women as a second being, as someone who stays, look down on women. So there's always that perception that a woman cannot do what a man can do. So when women get into these positions, they have to prove everyone wrong. They have to work extra hard. They have to. They cannot make mistakes, and that is why most of the time you find women, people saying that women in positions of power are very mean. Women in positions of power are rude, so because they have to be a bit more aggressive, and you know it's understandable because you know people expect her to fail, so societies expect women to fail in such positions.
So can we say this aggression is actually men are the creators of this aggression? Right?
Yeah, to a certain extent. Yeah, to a certain extent. It's a patriarchal society, so it is men. It's a man's society.
If I'm to just add to the topic, if you look back at where society has come from, yeah, there's this societal construct of women stay at home, men lead the family, men were the village chiefs, men were out there in the spotlight. Why? Because back prehistorically, the jobs, the woman's role has been to follow and the man to lead.
To lead, yeah.
Yeah, this is how our great-grandparents grew up, our grandparents, and then us. And then even our children are going to grow up like this, because up to now, it is so difficult. It's kind of a miracle. If you go and they tell you, oh my God, this country has a female president, everyone's like, wow. They celebrate, they're like, wow, how did she do it? How did she convince all these people? Yeah? Why? Because prehistorically, women are viewed as these people
Emotional beings.
who are just supposed to follow, and these things need to change. And secondly, being a good boss, it's not there's no law that says only men can be good bosses, women can't be good bosses, or to be a good boss you need to be tough and you need to no, that's not how it is. Men can be good bosses just as well as women can also be good bosses. Yeah, what we need to be talking about is why is it that men view a lot of female bosses in that specific way. And let me tell you something, this is why. Some women, not all women, some women are insecure. Yeah, you've joined, let me just give an example of you've joined Peter and Sons, a company. Yeah, you've joined Peter and Sons, you're an intern. What happens? You make your way up to the top, you become insecure. Why? Because you start looking at everyone as a threat. Yeah, because this is how you enter the company. You enter the company as an intern, people are hitting on you, male bosses are hitting on you, they're doing all these sorts of things. So you're already, you put on a thick skin and you're like, you know what, I will brave this till the end. You reach the top, what happens? You become insecure. They tell you, you know, the company needs to do this and this. You're like, would you tell me that if I was a man?
So you're saying that actually we female bosses become aggressive because they're insecure?
Yes, because they're insecure. You see, for a man, no, let me just say something. Just something.
Developing a very good.
We do need to get into a break, and as soon as we come back, we will start with you. Now we're here in Kalangala at Pearl Resort, talking about female bosses. Some people say they're extremely aggressive, and it is kind of doesn't help very much. But others say just because they are insecure. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Back from the break, in case you've just joined us, we are here by the lakeside in Kalangala talking about female bosses. Now, you say that female bosses are insecure.
Insecurity.
Please don't quote me wrong.
There's nothing wrong with what you said.
I'm not saying all female bosses are insecure. I'm just saying there are some bosses who are going to go out of their way to be aggressive because they are insecure.
And insecurity.
And they feel like every other complaint you bring up is because they are a woman. And she'll tell you, and she'll even tell you, because I've had an instant. There's back then, my first internship, I had an altercation with my boss. She was female, and she was like, you think I worked all my way up here for you to just walk in office like this? Bichi, would you do this if I was a male boss and all that? And I'm like, but I just didn't have it. I came to work with an iron shirt. Why? There's no electricity. And she threw a tantrum. It's like I attacked her integrity and her company laws and everything. Just because.
But do you blame the person? Do you blame her?
That was not.
The tantrum
She should
is
react
the
like that.
problem.
No, and listen,
The tantrum isn't a problem.
she took it as a way of I disrespected her, which I did not do.
But some of
I
it-
came to work because I'm obligated to go to work. Whether there's electricity or there's no electricity or it has rained or it hasn't, I have to make myself go to work.
But
I
Peter-
had to go to work that day.
But Peter, let me tell you
but
something.
for her, she saw it as an attack.
But
And she's like,
Peter,
no,
let me say
you
something.
could have done something.
We behave differently. Let's be honest. You will intrinsically you will approach or you'll behave a certain way towards a certain person based on how they look, based on their gender and gender. Yeah, like you might approach someone and just be harsh because the guy is this person is male. So it is understandable, but all these things is all about perception.
But then
Perception.
are you
For example, we assume there's this perception that most women who have reached the top have used sexual means, unethical means to get to the top. And you know, some of these women have not really used unethical means. They have actually grind their way to the top. I have sisters, all my siblings, young and older, in big positions, and they have grind their way to the top. Like your typical guy.
And Banji, could that be one of the reasons why bosses are perceived, especially when they're women bosses, when they're dealing with men, are perceived as overly aggressive? Because they're not being treated as bosses, but they're being treated as women bosses.
Yeah, and you see, that's what Albert was trying to explain, and I think Faisal. Because for every human being, in fact, for every human being, there's what we call the principle of self-preservation. That's why if you woke up at night and your house is on fire, you will first run outside. Then you say, oh, I have left the children. Where are the children? But you're already out. That is self-preservation. So when the woman battles, you know, through a male-dominated territory, and she becomes a manager, she becomes a boss, she has really fought. And if I may borrow from the politics of the country, people keep reminding us that they fought. We fought.
And those
we
are
fought
men
for this
reminding
and
us.
These are men.
These are men.
They are reminding us we fought. You guys were hiding under the what?
Men.
Under the beds when we were fighting. So even the woman fought.
You need that.
She will be in that chair, but everyone around her is a threat. That is self-preservation. She's defending what she has earned. But also, it is also from us, the subjects now. When you go to her office, you even before you present your issue, you are like, but this is a woman boss. How will she take this? Because you see, for us guys who can be combative in office, you are presenting an idea and your boss is trashing it, and you are like, this is the idea. And once you leave the office, it's done. It stays there. And when you come tomorrow, it's a different issue. And for us guys, even the other thing you can do, you can find your boss in the band, you punch him under the influence of alcohol. And once you've sobered up, you come to office, he says, you punched me, you're like, are you sure? But I think that was the bottle. And you laugh it off. Yeah. Some bosses will do that. And you laugh it off. And you stop there. But if you did that to a female boss, it will be you cross the line. So the women have both fought to be there. So they have self-preserve. But also the associates, the juniors, when we go to them, we go to them as females, as women, bosses, but not as our bosses. So the stereotype is already there. The stereotype is already there. So we are presenting it to them like that. Okay?
So let me. I want to pitch into this discussion as well. Now, one thing you should know that we are playing in a society that has always had the girl child to the disadvantage. Okay, we are playing in that society. So these ladies, majority of them who are now in leadership, now especially at this moment, are ladies that went through a really hard time. It's in society, a really bad timeline in society where a girl child was neglected, and all those sorts of things. Now, if a young girl sees the fellow girls at a disadvantage and she finds herself at the top, let me give you an example. At the moment right now, in university, in Makerere University, we had 3 students, ladies, that graduated in architecture out of a class of over 20. And only 3 females graduated. And yet, when they began their first year, there were more ladies than gentlemen in the class. Now, how do you think these ladies, those who are now at the top of not at the top of the class, but now they have graduated, how do you think they perceive? They may say, okay, this system was fair. These girls dropped up fairly. But they are competing with 17 other men who have the potential of actually even being better. So you see, and secondly, you must also remember that these are emotional beings. That's how they are tuned. Ladies are emotional beings. And so whether she's a no, she has that, first wait. She has that already system set in her. It's her default. She's an emotional being. Now, if you put 2 two people, one emotional and one not as emotional. Men are emotional, not as in a different way. And you have them to compete at the same level. Who would take failure easily? Who would take a punch easily? Who would take criticism easily? Who would take, because if you tell a female boss, hey, look here, I have done this job for 20 years. She's your boss, but you're telling her, I have done this and it has worked. But you're just putting in an idea. She'll be like, oh, now because I am a female, you see, and yet if it is a man, you'll be like, hey, okay, you want to challenge me? You want to challenge, because he is saying, okay, man to man, you want to a challenge, but a woman be like, hey, oh, if it was another, you see, I'm telling you something, it is just, you see, a woman is playing always at a disadvantage. Not as because of society, the way we have placed the girl child in society. If a woman gets to the top, that is how she's playing. She's still playing in the same league.
Oh, no, I'll tell you what. I agree with you that that of course there are more, especially in any job sphere currently. There are generally more men than women. However, shouldn't I be approaching my boss as a boss?
Yes, you should.
And not as
you
a
should.
woman.
You see, that's the thing. You should approach her as a boss. But you see, it's a two-way. It's a two-party system. Maybe a three-party if there's someone watching. But it's a two-party system. If I approach you as a boss, how sure am I that you are going to approach this as a female or as a boss and not as a female?
We need
Boss.
to, you know, the stereotype emanates from it emanates from the fact that we see women as emotional beings. But one thing
you approach your boss with a bias.
no, we approach a boss. We'll always approach her with a bias that she will not look at it ethically or with a clear mind. But she has emotions. But one thing that we need to demystify here is there is nothing wrong with a woman having a boss who has emotions. There is nothing wrong with that. You come into the picture with your own ish as a guy. Guys also have, guys also have some stereotype. Guys behave. I don't know. What is one of the stereotypes about men?
They're aggressive.
They're aggressive. There must be a stereotype. There must be a negative stereotype.
All men cheat.
Like all men cheat.
Yeah.
Same stereotype with women, that she has emotions, you will not look at it critically. But there's nothing wrong with emotions.
Let me ask
there's
you
nothing. Actually, they
Jalo.
say that some of the best leaders are very emotional.
Jalo, on your point, let me just ask you something. Then why is it that so many women complain about working for other women, and they would actually prefer working for a man than a woman? If you're saying there's nothing wrong with having an emotional boss, why?
There's nothing wrong. You just have to put some of these things in check. There should always be a balance.
How are you going to check your
There
boss?
should always be a.
She's your boss.
No,
you
no,
can
we're
check her.
talking. We're talking about female bosses. Me, I cannot check her.
No.
But we're trying.
I'm
We're
talking
advising
about
them.
the female boss, you're saying we need to check her. How are you going to check
fact-
a
No,
female
to
boss?
even to even add on Faizo's
from
point,
level
do you know
0
that
to
many
where she
clients prefer, if they are to enter a company and they know there's a female boss and there's a competitor that is male, they'll be like, you know what? And they disagree just on principle. He will even prefer to go to the competitor at that moment.
But you know,
that's okay. That's exactly.
But you know,
because
we
that's a
are
bias
sitting
from us.
here. We are
Because
sitting here.
we are biased
and
that
saying that-
females, we are biased so much that females are so emotional that even when it comes to judgment, decision making, they could be emotional.
I'll tell you what. I dare pick on the last American election. That was one of the tools that Donald Trump used to campaign against Hillary Clinton, which I think is actually very, very wrong. But we do need to go into a break. We are here in Kalangala and we are talking about female bosses. Are they a challenge, especially to the men, or are we the ones who are just not treating them as bosses? Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back from the break. We are here in Kalangala at Pearl Resort talking about female bosses. Are they over emotional? Like our boss Rose on the show, sometimes she gets extremely emotional. But what can we do?
She's always emotional.
She's always emotional.
She's an emotional
And as Stefan has mentioned, he has said there's nothing wrong with being emotional. However, can we say that the emotional decisions that women make sometimes cloud judgment, and I'll give you a simple example. If you are this man and then you are generally an aggressive person, maybe you're a mchigo or something of the sort. So and you're aggressive to anybody, and then your boss, because maybe she's new, she doesn't know that's your personality, will automatically assume that you're doing it because she's a woman, and then it doesn't matter how good your ideas are, they're shut down. So should it be you as a man?
Let me tell you, emotion will always emotions will always be a strong determinant of either whether you're going to make a right decision or a wrong decision.
Is not a negative attribute.
No. I've said that's why it's either you make a. No, I've not said it's
But there's
negative.
so many, a lot of men who prefer.
Yes, there are so many good things that come out of, but there's also bad things. And a woman.
But listen. You know, whether you like it or not, when you get in the picture, you as a man already have a bias that this woman, and it's a blanket statement that we throw around that every woman is emotional. We throw it
Everyone is
around.
emotional. What I'm trying to say is this: you don't make the whole emotion topic be about women. Men have emotions too as well, and they're emotional bosses who make funny decisions because of their clouded judgment. The guy loves the HR. He has emotions. He likes this new intern. He's going to make a bogus decision. There's a workplace I worked at. Let me tell you guys. Okay, and this and we had all of us. Thank God the company closed. All of us had been there for more than 3 years. The boss, he picks an intern. She comes. She's the new intern. She's been there for like a month. 2 months later, she's now the boss. Just like that. She knew nothing about the company, nothing at all. But because of the boss and his emotion and the way he saw, you know what?
But you guys agree.
This
Do you
guy
guys
is
agree
giving
one
me
thing?
something. So
But
let me
isn't
also
that-
just
isn't that
make
also
the decision.
In all fairness, isn't that an assumption? Because we don't know.
Igaga, just wait a
We
minute.
know.
You see, sometimes companies have played a gender card, you know, and no disrespect to our good parliament, but there is a law that at least a third of the parliament must be women. Okay, so the women are just coming to parliament.
That is proof
Because
that
of the gender card. They may, if they had competed with fairly,
without any law.
fairly, without that is called positive discrimination. Because you are expecting that out of these 130 women who come to parliament, at least a good number will emerge, and some of them have gone, by the way, to compete with men and have defeated them.
Yes.
You remember Speciosa Kazim? She used to compete with men and she would defeat them.
Yes.
Now,
But Banji,
just a minute.
Wait,
just a minute,
let him
just a
a
minute.
quick one and you go back.
No, just a minute. Now, some companies play a gender card. I wanted to feed in what Faizo had said. Now, because they play a gender card, we are 5 people in a position, and our boss leaves, and they need to fill the boss. But because they prefer the boss to be female, you, Jaluo, you are more experienced, more qualified to get that position. But the company puts in a female.
And I'll defend that. I'll defend that for one reason.
Just one
You
second,
know,
just before you
whether
come
we
in,
like
can I
it-
just say something?
Okay.
Banji, one thing that a lot of people need to realize is that none of them, even if you're more qualified than your boss, you did not sit in your boss's interview. The reasons as to why your boss is given that job is none of your business. I think one of the challenges we have, especially in this good country of ours, is we are always questioning our bosses. Okay, and I'm a coach. I'm a trainer. One of the things a lot of companies that I work with face is there's always this challenge upwards. People forget you did not sit in your boss's interview. As to why the company has put a woman there is none of your business. You are meant to serve.
Yes, and that's why I was still continuing my argument. So when this lady is seated in this chair, the juniors already have a bias. You know,
just a bias.
It's a bias. They no longer approach her as their boss. You see, and I think this is where sometimes the Chinese become very successful. The Chinese and the South Koreans, and the Japanese, they have one simple rule. A boss is right. A boss is the boss. And I think even some of the
She's
Indians,
always right,
a
yeah.
boss is a boss.
Boss
So
is a
once the
client.
boss gives you instruction, you need to check, boss, have you said I should do this? Even if I have told you that this would have been better, the boss says yes, then you go and do it to the best of your knowledge. So that when it fails, you come back to boss and say, boss, this is what you had said. And if boss has seen that you have done it according to the orders, it will be a different thing. So I think this gender card is both ways. Once the lady is seated there, she's like, there are all these men looking at me in this position. I have to become I
have to rise on.
Yes, I have to be like them, warlike, always be in war mood. You know, you have a female boss and she's always in a war mood. And you want to explain ideas and she's like, no, I have said, this is it.
It's done.
You know, that's why at the beginning I said, leaders, the debate has always continued. Are leaders born or leaders are made? And it is a debate. It's a wide-ranging debate. That's why the biggest argument is that leaders are actually made. So the female boss, it depends on their making. How were they made? How were they groomed? How did they emerge to become the leader?
Peter,
the process of being the leader is clean.
I want to rebuttal the gender card, just real quick and you go on.
Correct.
You know, whether we like it or not, you know, we'll sit here and I've opposed the gender card that has been played from when your kids campus, they get to campus with, you know, with that lower grade. But we are not on the same level. We're still not on the same level. The reason why we still have to play that gender card, we want them to come to a level where, like, there's equal opportunity. I don't have a problem with that.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I was going to, and I don't agree with what you're saying, though. I don't agree, but this is what I'll say. You see, women should always know, women and men should know that they will never be equal. No,
I'm not talking about
no.
I'm talking about equal playing fields.
Equal opportunity. Right now, we are in a society that is trying to develop that spectrum of equal opportunity. We're in a society that's trying to develop.
But you know, societies that have given women opportunities
have more success.
Grown.
Yes,
exactly.
Grown, yes.
This is the thing. Women and men will never be equal. There are things women are very good at. That they can be good at so many things, but they're good. But one thing I want you to look at a family setting. Just a basic family setting. A woman sitting, grooming and nurturing children, and you see what the children can, what the children will become. Then a woman, the same woman, also cleaning up the man, and you see what the man will become. Put that same woman with that same attitude
to run a business.
With that same attitude to run a business, chances are high it will flourish. That attitude of the woman, not trying to be like the man, not trying to be the man, but being a woman and knowing she's the boss and she has responsibilities and duties. If they stick to that
with emotions,
with
emotions.
Look, even that woman at home has emotions.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. The same thing you're saying.
So if you bring her with that, you bring that envelope and you present it to people with that same attitude, you will see that many companies that have women that think like women, do things like women,
yes,
and behave like women, carry themselves like ladies, and do everything like a woman. That's why, and you have such a woman, that you'll have harmony. But if you have a woman who is trying to be like a man, think like a man,
but I'll tell
you're
you
not going to have harmony.
In all fairness, we've talked about aggression, that there are biases that men have against women, and it's something we cannot run away from. Because for the longest time, we especially in Africa, we've grown up in very patriarchal societies. So there are people who clearly say, what can this woman tell?
Exactly.
Okay.
You see, to rebut that, even in the homes,
I'm coming to you.
I'm
coming to you. So do you then blame this woman for being aggressive?
Look,
you're already against her.
Listen. Even in the homes, we are aggressive with them. But do they start being aggressive? Does it change you? Does it change the fact that listen? First, let me finish. In their homes, it still happens, but she still does her duties. She still does. You see, when you can't fight fire with fire, if you start, and the beauty about women, if the women are out there and they are smart enough, they will know that they have so many qualities. I won't say that. I'll leave it at that, because if I say that will be a weapon against the men.
The example is
I
have just one thing. I have in the taxi business. When you talk to most of the drivers, they will literally tell you, you know what, you would rather encounter a male traffic police officer
Then a
than
woman
a female
trying-
traffic police officer. Everyone would,
It's interesting.
even me,
Yeah,
me,
yeah,
me
yeah.
who's driving. The encounters I've had with the male traffic police officer are not the same I've had with the female. Because this is what happens. As a woman, you get out of your home, border men are commenting about you. Enter the taxi, the conductor is saying, hey, wakabina, jangu, all that. Yeah. So by the time she gets to the road to do her job, and you know how rowdy these traffic guys are, she needs to put on a thick skin. She needs to be aggressive, or else no taxi guy
Will
is
take her
going to
serious.
take her seriously.
And you know,
And
this-
that is why,
It is
and
true.
that is why, in the end, the taxi guys are like, you know what? If mukazi akolera kola oluguudo, is it a woman? Yeah, it's a woman. Nedda, we won't pass. Why? Because they know these women, the female traffic police officers, they know they encounter a lot of disrespect. You talk to the guy is like, oh, na kola.
It is a
what
woman.
will you do?
Yes,
you won't
yes,
beat me. La 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 la. So she has
She has to
put
be
on
hard,
a thick
yeah.
skin.
But
She
also,
has
guys,
to
We
be
have,
also,
we
guys, you
have
forget
right
one thing,
attitude.
that when you look at the families we have grown into, you find that the way they give us responsibilities from the young age, the boy is groomed to lead the family, and the girl is groomed to follow. So the boy, you grow up knowing that the girl has to follow, you know, like I think most Ugandan tribes, you find that they will tell you that when your parents die, then the succession will go to the boys.
Yeah.
So even if the boy is the last born, he grows up knowing he's the boss. Now, should the father maybe in the older age wise up and put the elder sister as the successor, the boy will fight
There will be
back.
aggression,
There will
yes.
be aggression. So because of this, then the ladies grow up knowing how to follow, and the men grow up knowing how to lead. So now when the roles are reversed, it becomes problematic. Actually, you will realize that most of the female leaders we have, if you go to primary school, she was either head prefect or they have been groomed. And that's why you'll find, like, at the moment, the top, maybe the top 20 female leaders we have, you'll find that they grew from their schools. Either she was a head girl or head prefect,
head of food.
or she was in charge of the hall where they were sleeping. So she has honed the skills.
Yes.
Yes. So I think, for me, I think to reduce this gap and bias is that when we have children, both boys and girls, in our own homes, we give them equal opportunities. So when the girl grows up, she will not be this combative, but a leader.
Yeah.
You know, she will be
With
a
the
leader.
right
You know,
attitude.
sometimes to lead, people mistake leadership with commanding, giving orders. Yes. But you can give me an order and I don't execute it.
Then you face the fire. Now, we have reached a point where we do have to wrap up. So, yes, this will be your parting shot. We'll start with you.
Listen, let me say this. You know, and I loved something that Albert said about when women get to positions of authority, they assume that they have to be like men. And this is a perception that emanates from men, because we look down on some of the attributes of women. Emotion. A woman can lead with her emotions. She can come to the picture as a woman and be successful. You don't need to be to behave like a man to lead. And this also boils down to men looking down on, or saying things like, "But you're a woman, you're emotional, you cry." You get? There's nothing wrong with that. There should always be a symmetrical balance. So there's nothing wrong. And I loved what Banji said. We need to start training our kids from a very young age, give them positions of leadership. And I've said this on a different show where I found myself in a position where we are two boys in the family, and we have elder sisters, and things are happening, and they're looking for the young boy, okay? And I have sisters who are in positions, in very big positions in different companies, who can make better decisions than me.
So you're already questioning your own decision
No,
making, which is fair.
it needs to come.
Okay.
You need to train your kids, train
Yeah,
your
I
girls.
agree.
Yeah.
Faisal, your parting shot.
All I'm going to say is I'm not going to pretend like society is equal. You know, we live in a patriarchal world. And however qualified you are, there are just some men who will never take you seriously if you're not aggressive with them. That is just how it is. You're not going to tell this lady who's working 24/7 or something on the road, you know what? You can reason with that taxi driver. No, because even men sometimes fail to reason with these chaps. So the aggressiveness is there, yes, but it's because of the society. It's not because she wants to. Yeah, you have to understand that a woman comes to work, not to just go and let me wake up, let me go shout at people. No. She also comes to work with the same ambition you came to work with, to work. Yeah, and she has been a woman all her life. Not just now when she has gotten the job, she has been a woman all her life. She has managed to be where she is because of what she has been doing. Yeah, so you're not going to at that point in time tell her, you know what, take it easy on these men and all that, be okay, because the truth is men don't look at women the same way they look at men. That's just how it is.
Great stuff. I'll be your parting shot.
He did a quality thing there.
Yeah, but
will
see cows running, crossing.
All right. Listen, ladies out there and gentlemen out there, you live in a very competitive world. So ladies, do not expect to be treated exceptionally, with exception or with special care. We are going to compete. Whether you're a boss, there will be a level of competition, because competing on ideas, competing for the job, competing on any level. So Rose, don't worry, I'm not coming after your job. That's one. Two, I'm going to talk about the attitude. Attitude, ladies, especially for the ladies, if you have the same attitude you use to clean your house, to clean up your house, if you have that same attitude and you use the same mentality, you will be a greater leader. Finally, for gentlemen and ladies out there, there's a phrase I got from a certain movie, I think it was Drumline. You have to learn to follow before you learn to lead. So if you want to be a great boss, you must have been someone who was great at following. Thank you.
Yeah.
This man has parted for me. So, me, what do I say? One is that, and mine goes to the men who are led by women. I think we should stop second guessing our female bosses. Let us give them a chance. You know, of recent I've been studying why China and South Korea have moved out of poverty South Korea. In one generation, and it's about discipline. An order is an order, an instruction is an instruction. So let us not second guess our female bosses. Let us follow. If we were not following on this set, we wouldn't be having this show. Okay, so learn from us.
Maybe we
Two,
like
and
that.
I want to emphasize what Albert has said. Women have a certain set of skills that make them tick, that make them good, and men have a certain set of skills. If you're a woman boss out there, just be a woman. Don't try to be a man. If your boss was shouting at you, don't think that is the best way of leading. Continue using your set of skills to lead. Eventually, hearts will be converted, people will see the good in you and will follow, and you'll be successful. But also third, and this one I sent to all the parents out there, if you have a girl child, from the word go, give them the same opportunities of leadership in your house the way you are giving to your sons, so that by the time they grow, then they are the same, they have a comparable set of skills that they can use to lead the society.
Oh, great stuff. So you've heard it from the men. Mine is very simple. Respect your boss. You didn't sit in your boss's interview. So whether she's a woman or a man, you have to agree with you. An order is an order. Just toe the line. Organization brings progress. So that's it from us this evening in Kalangala. We're having a great time because now we're going to eat fish. I hope you're getting a chance to have yours too. Have a good night and take good care of yourselves. God bless.